The internet has become quite the gross feeling place these days. Our information superhighway and public communications hub has turned into a hyper-monetized, centralized corporate landscape where bad actors are promoted and algorithms push everyone to sanitize the things they post to appeal to the greatest number of people. Meanwhile, advertisers are demanding more eyeballs than literally possible on our AI-generated slop, so social media platforms are cutting out the middleman and just creating fake users to replace humans. I guess we're embracing the dead internet theory unironically now. It's just so depressing. Things need to change. But change doesn't come from picking which billionaire-run social media platform you think might do the least harm in the short term. It's about taking ownership and control back over your online experience and injecting more humanity onto the net. You can do that by creating your own website, focused on your interests, passions, self as a real human being, and helping to decentralize where people spend their time online. I've explored a massive list of options for hosting your own website and blog in 2025, and most of them suck. WordPress gets expensive and is a little too bloated to juggle a basic blog these days, though I do still use it for the Stream Guide site. I'm transitioning everything else off of it. Most other options are either too expensive for me to recommend or too involved, way too involved, in terms of compiling and using what feels like developer tools when I just want to write and have my written words published. I've finally found a stable, easy combination of tools that works for me, and I want to make them available to you. Hosting a blog or other website with regularly updated new posts typically involved four primary things: a domain name, such as EposVox.com or analogdreams.zip, a hosting service that hosts your website files on a server made accessible to the World Wide Web, those very files themselves, or your content for your website, and a CMS. A CMS is a content management system that allows you to create posts, pages, photo galleries, etc., and does the work of turning all of that into a finished website for you. Historically, that CMS element has been the hard, complicated part, which is why you would consider paying an extra subscription to a WordPress or Squarespace-style service to host that on their servers and such for you. But as someone who has managed quite a few attempts at WordPress blogs at an amateur level over the past 15 years, it gets bloated fast. Plugins add a lot of overhead, themes break and fill your website with filler content to showcase the theme, managing the blog itself becomes a ton of extra work. Plus, there's security concerns. You must constantly update it, and anyone who has made a WordPress site knows it gets flooded with spam comment within days or within hours of the site going live, even if you've never even shared it with anyone yet. The big problem with something like WordPress is that you're stuck hosting the actual CMS for your site itself on your website host, which is expensive and requires a lot of resources. It's also unnecessary. The modern approach seems to be to host a static site, just like old school websites. It's just a website that serves pages with pre-built HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and text files. There's no added bloat software to run on the server, no server-side processing, no database, nothing like that. This is exactly what we want these days. Websites that don't track visitors, load super fast, and just focus on whatever you, the human being making the thing, wants there to be. Let's walk through each step of setting up your first website or blog. Getting a domain, if you want. That's the URL typed into the address bar to reach your website. Getting a host to host your pages. And setting up a CMS or some other way to build your site. Normally, I'd say first you need a domain name, but you can absolutely skip getting a custom domain until you've set your site up, or forever, I guess, since the hosting and stuff can be free. So we'll circle to that last. Eventually, you will probably want your own domain so that it can be your little place on the net. But you can absolutely use the free subdomains provided by the host we'll talk about in the next step, so feel free to proceed without a domain now, add one later. Instead, let's start with a host. All right, there's two main hosts that I'm going to focus on for this video. One of them is a little bit more intimidating. We're going to mostly brush over it for those of you who know what you're doing. You probably already know about this, and that is GitHub Pages. So GitHub is a place that you can host your repositories of source code if you're a developer. If you program programs, then you can upload your source code there and distribute it to people. You can also use that to host a website. And so you sign up, you make a repo, and then you can use any number of programs, including the CMS program I'm going to focus on in this video, to push a website to GitHub. And then you can either just send people to your GitHub URL for that project, or you can set up a custom URL, which is pretty neat. We can walk through that with the blogging program we're going to use. Like I said, this is mostly for developers, a little bit more intimidating. The other one is Neocities. So Neocities is a spiritual successor, as it were, independently run to Geocities, one of the biggest free website hosts back in the day. Super nostalgic if you've ever looked at pages for that. And you can see here, there are a ton of really unique custom-made web pages that people have made for their own little interests. So this one has more of the style that my website over here has, where it's just the typical little old school framework just about their stuff called A Lovely Harmless Monster. You have this one, which is one of my favorites, that has classic little window UI design. You can choose different themes for it, which is awesome. You can't really close the windows like you can on some other ones, but you do have a start button where you can click other links. So this replaces your standard website menu. They've got a music player, a guest book, a little Tamagotchi kind of thing, video embeds. Lots of cool stuff there. Of course, you got your little icons. This one is super old school and crazy looking. This one's designed to look like an old Netscape browser kind of scenario, which is pretty cute. Lots of cool websites here that serves both as just strengthening your tech skills to kind of work on these if you'd like, or whatever else you might want to do, or to just host a basic website. So you can sign up here. You can get a free URL. You do not have to pay to host a basic website with Neocities. They have almost 1 million static sites here, but you can just get a yourname.neocities.org URL for absolutely free. You can tag your interests, make a password, add your email, and sign up. I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my account so you can see my sites. So here I actually have a few different sites hosted with them. One of them is still in progress. That's Shareware Zone. I'm still working on that. Here you can see some of the other sites. It has a kind of social media-esque element in that people can follow your sites on Neocity and comment on them, or you can post status updates. Most people don't really use that. But you can see here I have my EposVox.com website and my new blog that I have finally condensed into one place with 15 years of writing at analogdreams.zip. And this is hosted with the CMS that we're going to talk about in a little bit. My EposVox.com website is just a static HTML page. So I've got animated backgrounds, all the goofy little buttons. I've got rainbow PS1 cursor just because, lots of GIFs, places you can find me, old school badges. And then I have a cool tools page where you can see some of my favorite computer programs for Linux and Windows. I've not updated this with Mac stuff just yet. Cool stuff here. So Neocities would be what I recommended if you're a newbie. Here you can upload your own HTML files. So for example, if I go to my EposVox website, if I go to edit site up here in the top right, you just upload your HTML files. It's called a static site. We'll talk about it in a moment. And so you just write up or download a template, a basic HTML file, and then upload it, and then it's live. And then you can either use the free URL they give you or point your own custom domain, which we'll talk about in a moment, over here. And you can technically just go ahead and edit your HTML files here on the site. Not the most easy to consume text editor here, but they do provide that option to you, which is pretty sick. And then you can create folders for your images you want to embed. And here you can see I have some experimental pages and things like that, but you just upload your files to it. It is as simple as it gets. You can upload files to it. It will distribute them. Obviously you need a index.html file as your primary website, and that is it. But you can also push a blog to it, which is what we're going to work on with the CMS app that I'm going to show you. Next, you'll want a CMS or some other tool to generate the static pages for your site. The old school Neocities way is to just make classic HTML files using a text editor or a WYSIWYG editor and upload them to your Neocities site. This is what I've done for my EposVox.com website, and I hope to eventually refresh enough on my middle school era HTML to start learning to make new stuff. There's endless documentation on HTML and CSS online. Maybe start with W3 schools. For my blog, I wanted a tool that would let me just focus on my writing and not the managing of my blog or the HTML formatting or anything. There's a lot of popular static site generators like Jekyll, Hugo, and so on, which focus on markdown files, basically raw text files with special characters to denote formatting like you'd use in Discord messages. But the hassle of getting themes working and converting whatever I've written in my normal writing tools to Markdown with the appropriate header information, and everything else just felt like a little too friction-y for what I wanted. Instead, I found Publii. Well, my Discord moderator Greg found Publii, and then I found it from him, I suppose. Publii is a free open source CMS for generating a static blog. It's cross-platform, so it'll run on Windows, Mac, and Linux, is completely privacy and user control focused, and very lightweight. Let's set up a basic blog with Publii. So we are going to set up a basic blog here with Publii. You can just download the installer from their website. It is, again, available on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And go ahead and run the installer. And once you have installed it, you will get something that looks a little bit like this, where if you already had a website, you can choose it here, or you can make a new one. So we're going to make a new one. We're going to call this, we're going to choose a video icon, tutorial demo by EposVox. We're going to click create website. The icon doesn't really matter. It's just for you to choose from in your list. So I chose 2 of the same icons, so that doesn't really help me, but that's not the point. And then you can make posts, because it's meant to build a blog, so you can make different posts. You can make different pages, in case you need an About Me page or a contact form or something like that. You can add tags to tag your posts or pages with. You can customize menus for like your top or your left-hand side menus. You can add different authors if you are planning on hosting writing from different authors. You can add themes, or you can customize your themes here. So these are settings for your individual theme. If you actually want to install themes, there's 3 dots all the way in the top right up here. There's a bunch of other options. So you have app settings. You can put the app into light mode or dark mode. I use light mode for most things these days. Dark mode messes with my astigmatism, apparently. Image resize engine. Have a couple different options there. You can scale the interface. Cool stuff like that. You can choose where your websites are saved. You can change the backup location. Lots of stuff like that. Automatically beautify your source code in the editor. And you can click Save Settings. But you also have the Themes and Plugins option, and this allows you to install themes and plugins from their website. So you will need to download them. We'll look at them in a minute. But you can see here I have downloaded a bunch of different themes. So we're going to make a website with this terminal theme here. And then server is where you're going to choose where you push your files to. Now, if you did the GitHub Pages host like we talked about before, you got a button for that, and it goes a lot smoother. With Neocities, you just have to choose a manual deployment option, and it's going to give you files to upload. Not a big deal. I'll walk you through that. So tools and plugins, you can see here, you can make your own stuff for it as well. We're just going to make a post. You have 3 different options for making posts and pages. You have the WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. This is old school, how you might have made HTML websites back in your tech classes in school. You have a block editor, which is a lot more similar to WordPress or Squarespace, where you have different types of blocks you can add, like a text block or a quote block or an image block. And then you have Markdown editor. If you're used to writing in Markdown, which is just different formatting where you can choose the formatting based on symbols you add to it, you can do that. And you're not tied to that for the entire blog. You can do 1 post in Markdown, 1 post in block editor, 1 post in WYSIWYG. You can do whatever you want. So we'll go with block editor to start. We'll say testing. Can you read me as our title? Start writing or press the tab key to choose a block. We're going to hit tab. We can choose a header, image, gallery, list, quote, source code, separator, read more, table of contents. So we can just start adding blocks. Test 1. I am a human, not a robot. You cannot buy my humanity. And then we can hit tab and we can do an image, upload an image file. Sure. That was a really big image. That's fine. It handled it fine. You can add a caption or alt text. Moon behind clouds. Hello. My backspace key is going up for some reason. And whoa, I do not know. That has not happened before. I don't know why my backspace key is going. It's like acting as a reverse tab. That's super strange. Afternoon. Okay, and we've made a basic post, so we can hit save and close. But now we can go to our site settings. We have a post. We can make a page too, so we can say WYSIWYG editor for paste about me. And see, this is like a normal Microsoft Office kind of editor. So you got your text formatting, different text types. So we can do block quote. To die, to sleep, perchance, to dream, haha. Paragraph, not block quote. Testing. That one's going to be block quote. We can add an image here if we want. The uploader looks a little different, but it's the same idea. Save. And then we can save that page. Now, we have a post and a page. We have the makings of a website. Now we need to choose our theme. So we'll go to Site Settings in the left. Yeah, it's not under Theme. Theme is for theme options. I know that's a little confusing. You can change your language. We're going to do English USA. You can change your name, your description, and then under select theme here, you got to choose install and use for the ones you've already installed in that other menu. So we're going to say terminal. We're going to block AI crawlers. You can manually set a page's homepage. There's a ton of options here. You can dig through it as you would like. We're going to hit save settings. We have to regenerate thumbnails since we selected a different theme. And now we can choose preview your changes. And it's going to render your website and build it here. And now we have a website. Testing, can you read me? Welcome aboard. That is our first post. We have not added a menu, so we don't have our other page in there. So we can go back to Publii, go to menus, add new menu, menu. And we're going to assign it as main menu under assign menu. Then we're going to add options. We're going to click into it, add new menu item, home, select page. Actually, we'll just do about there. About, add menu item. Save and preview our changes. Now we have our about page with a custom theme all ready to go. And so you can import your posts. If I go to my other blog here, you can see I've imported a ton of writing from the past 15 years, and you can post date each individual post. So I've applied the post or the date to posts when they were written, going back in time. So if we add a new post under set custom post date here, you can choose where it goes. So you can go back in your archives if you need to or whatever. And once you build up a list of posts, pages, whatever, I haven't even added pages to my blog yet. You can then preview your changes to make sure they all work. This is the theme I chose. My only complaint with it is most of the themes right now seem to not work with search, which is obviously a kind of big deal. I think there's something on my end causing to do it. But again, you can go to their website and get themes and plugins and look at, other stuff. So there's a plugins bundle, which has, what's it got in it? Follow button, social sharing, static search. So yeah, search may need to be a separate plugin at this point. Maybe that's why, as I haven't installed the plugin for it. But you got a bunch of different plugins. You got a few different themes to choose for them. You don't have a ton of customization like you would on a more popular blogging platform. Like one of the ones I was looking at was like Jekyll, which is very developer centric. You have to do it all in the terminal and whatever. Had a lot of themes. Every one I downloaded was for different versions of Jekyll and were broken in different ways. I wasn't a huge fan. So these themes are more limited, but I think for a basic blog and stuff, if you're just trying to get yourself up on the net, they have enough options to choose from. So the big thing with this website then is pushing it to Neocities. So when you're in Publii, you click sync your website once you have set up your server. So you go to server. I have done the manual option like I showed you a minute ago. So then I tell it what my URL is going to be. And then I tell it where, you can tell it where to output your file. It's going to give you just a folder structure of files. Save settings, and then sync your website. And that is going to generate the files that I have created for my website. And then get website files will take you to that folder. Now you can go to the Neocities page, the editor that I showed you, and just upload these individual files. And then you'll have to manually make folders and upload the files in every individual folder. That would be kind of annoying. There is a command line utility if you have Ruby installed on your system. Ruby is a scripting language. If you install it on your system, there is a Neocities page linked in the description for how you do it. On macOS, it's a little complicated. On Windows and Linux, it's fairly easy. Then you can open up a terminal in the folder that you're in. So this is my website, Analog Dreams. I'm going to right-click it, New Terminal at Folder. And once you have installed that, you install the Ruby gem called Neocities. And again, link to that, how to do that is in the description. And then I literally just do Neocities push Analog Dreams files. And it's going to upload everything that I've done. And if anything's different, it will replace those files. The only thing this command won't do is delete files. If you delete a post or something, you'll have to manually go in and delete it. There are ways to compare and make scripts around that or whatever, but if you know how to do that, you don't need me to tell you. But ultimately, every time I make a new blog post or change something, I just run that command, Neocities push, and then the folder name, and it uploads my files to the website. It is pretty sick. The only complaint I have with that, or they do have an option, if you see at the bottom of your website files here, mount your site as a drive on the computer. I have gotten this to work. I can show you. Hold on. My only complaint with this and the command is I don't currently have it mounted. So I am going to go to Finder, go, connect to server, Neocities Web Dev, already have that there. I can literally make a folder mounted in Finder here. Naturally, it's not going to work for me at all right now. Well, you can mount a folder of your file structure and then just copy the files like you do normally in your file manager. This works okay on Mac sometimes. You can see here it's not working for me at the moment. Can kind of work on Linux, can kind of work on Windows. A little complicated to set up, but that would probably be the easiest way. If you can get this set up, then you don't have to worry about managing command lines or whatever. But what I was trying to say is my big complaint about this and the command prompt option, whatever website you set it up for is all it will work with. So like the WebDAV, the mount the drive on your computer option, I set up for my EposVox website. I can only do it with that without going through a complicated process to log back out and log back in with my other website. And same thing with the command prompt I just showed you. That goes to my Analog Dreams blog. But if I wanted to push files to my other website, I don't have an easy way to do so. And so that's my only real complaint there. And finally, a domain name. There's no end of domain registrars you can buy from, but my preferred cheaper ones are Namecheap and Porkbun. Both are great options, though most of my domains run through Namecheap to keep it easy, in part because I was originally using their easy WP tools for fast WordPress blog deployment. I'll have an affiliate link for them in the description if you want to check them out, but sign up and check out what domain you might want anywhere. There are some really cool domain extensions out there now, like .mov, .zip, and so on. There's been a big push to add more, so you can definitely find a sick name for your website easily. With your domain name, you'd follow the instructions for your host to set a couple DNS records to forward from your domain's registrar, like Namecheap, to your host itself, in this case Neocities. Give it an hour or so for everything to update and fall into place, and now you have your own place on the web that you fully control and won't be taken away from you. You can even use that domain as your handle on Blue Sky through Neocities, if you're into that side of social media. Make your home online and make it in a place you have control over. Put your own human touch on things and give that to the world. The internet needs a lot more humanity right now, and as individuals, we need a lot more control over our online experiences. I'll have links to a variety of websites I've put up through different methods over the past couple years in the description. Let me know what angle of tech ownership you want to see covered next, and remember to be kind. Rewind.